I think that's everyone. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us to officially kick off National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Canyon County. My name is Mary Hoffman, and I'm the president of the Canyon County Domestic Violence Task Force and Domestic Violence Court Coordinator. All too often we see in the media, especially recently, and in our daily work, and even sometimes in our personal lives, domestic violence affects all of us. Understanding domestic violence and understanding why victims stay in relationships, understanding the barriers that victims face when trying to leave, and finally, understanding why one would abuse his or her partner starts with awareness. Awareness of these key dynamics. Domestic violence will end only with us working together, joining hands, joining forces, and concluding that we will not tolerate it anymore. Concluding that we will not lose one more precious life to domestic violence. Please join me in welcoming Commissioner Hansen in the reading of the proclamation.
Thank you. The Board of Canyon County Commissioners signed this proclamation last Friday, September 25th. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month proclamation. Whereas the month of October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, whereas home should be a place of warmth, love, tranquility, and security. However, each day in the state of Idaho, hundreds of victims of domestic violence and their children seek safety and services from community-based domestic violence programs. Whereas in the state of Idaho, as of August 31st, 2014, there has been 3,076 criminal filings and 2,884 civil filings. Of that total, Canyon County has had 552 criminal cases filed and an additional 537 civil cases alone. Whereas domestic violence is a crime that transcends race, religion, age, ethnicity, and economic stature. Whereas domestic violence has tremendous effects on our community, including the judicial system, healthcare systems, our schools, neighborhoods, family, and friends. Whereas the Canyon County Domestic Violence Task Force is a coalition of organizations that continue to directly confront this crisis. Now, therefore, we, the Canyon County Board of Commissioners, take this time to remember those victims whose lives have been tragically taken, encourage and support survivors who have escaped abuse, and address the importance and value of community connectedness to prevent and respond to domestic violence. We do hereby proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and encourage all Canyon County residents to take an active role in addressing this issue in our community throughout the year, and especially in the month of October 2014.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please welcome Sheriff Kieran Donahue as he joins us to recognize Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Sheriff Donahue is known for his passion and his crusade to bring awareness against domestic violence. Welcome, Sheriff.
Thank you, Mary. And thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here. As Mary said, I am very passionate about the crusade that I work with and that I lead because of the issue of domestic violence. Those of you that are here in law enforcement and affiliated with law enforcement and the judicial system know firsthand what we face each and every day. It is staggering numbers that have brought me into this work that we do, not just in law enforcement, but in the nonprofit business of creating a public awareness. And as I travel around the country and I speak to different individuals and different groups, one thing is absolutely clear to me, and it resonates throughout our society. As you all see in the news, the NFL and major sports and the hype and propaganda, and it's positive that is brought to the forefront, but it's sad that those types of things have to happen to famous people to have it brought to the forefront. None of us are famous people. None of our victims are famous people, but they're famous to us, and they'll remain famous to us. And that's what brought me into this work as a victim many, many years ago that is still famous to me personally, that I can't let go of that situation. And as I travel around and I talk about what we as a society can do and what the issue is, you have to absolutely remember this is a societal issue. It's not an NFL issue. It's not a woman's issue. It's not a man's issue. It's a societal issue. And unless society takes it by the horns and grasps it and does something, makes a conscious decision to change it, we will continue to go down this slope. Children, the children coming up, they are your next generation. And unless we work on that next generation, the cause will be lost. People my age, it's going to be hard to change people my age to move away from domestic violence. We have to concentrate on the next generation of children to make those positive changes. We're role models. Everyone here is a role model. Our sports people are role models. There are more of us than there are in professional sports. We're all fans. I'm a great football fan, not particularly of some, but of most. But we have an opportunity before us to go out there and work with all those individuals. It's important that people like the task force exist, Brian Taylor's office, Commissioner Hansen for stating the proclamation, and for the judges, Judge Lee and others, who have taken this personal and taken the fight into the streets to where it needs to be, and that we all band together in unity. I cannot express that enough, that we band together in unity and solidarity and wear purple, the color purple, in remembrance and in guidance to those victims and survivors. Thank you for having me, and we'll continue the fight.
Thank you, Sheriff. Our next speaker is Canyon County Prosecuting Attorney Brian Taylor. Mr. Taylor's office was recently recognized nationally for the handling of their domestic violence cases. In particular, they were recognized for having a specialized domestic violence unit headed by Monica Morrison and the work that they do with victims. Welcome, Mr. Taylor.
I was reading a book the other day, and a quote caught my attention by Winston Churchill. Churchill said, "If you have enemies, that's a good thing. That means you stood up for something at some point in your life." I thank all of you for standing with us today in fighting the societal issue, as Sheriff Donahue indicated, that of domestic violence, and especially standing up for those voices that are often not heard. Those voices that are in these relationships that suffer this violence behind closed doors, that we're bringing this to the forefront. As the sheriff indicated, this has really come to a national attention, and this is our opportunity to seize it and especially take it here in Canyon County. Domestic violence is prevalent within our county, whether or not we accept it, whether or not we want to acknowledge it, it happens. It's something that we have to eradicate from our society. Not only is there the primary impact of the victims, there's the secondary trauma that takes place with these children, and then there's the tertiary violence that impacts our entire community. It costs us millions of dollars every day, and it costs us staggering lives every hour. Many of you have already heard the statistics. 1 in 4 women, I was just reading an article, they are estimating it's 1 out of 3 women now throughout the course of their life will be a victim of domestic violence, 1 out of 7 men. What's even more staggering is it's estimated that 3 victims will lose their life to their partner in a day in this country. That's 1 too many, and unfortunately Canyon County has seen that happen too frequently, too often. So I thank you all for coming together, to standing up, and our voices will be heard, and yes, we're going to make many enemies as we move forward to identify and eradicate this issue. But if we stand together as a group, then we can overcome this horrible societal issue. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Our next speaker is a very special guest. She has graciously agreed to share her time with us today to help bring awareness to the tragedy surrounding domestic violence. Let's please give a warm welcome to Sylvia Flores.
Got to bring it down a little bit. Hello, everyone. I first want to thank everybody for being here today. People ask me all the time, do you get nervous speaking in public? And I said, I do a little bit, but I feel, I don't know, I feel a little bit more intimidated by the fact of what I'm talking about. It's never a comfortable topic, but I think it's very, very important. As you all know, my daughter Angie was murdered 11 years ago. And today, what I want to talk about is the impact that domestic violence has on victims, families, their children, the community. And so I just want to tell a little bit about what we've been through these past 11 years. It's been tough. It has really been tough. I'm going to try to get through this without crying. It's hard. It's really hard, but I feel very passionate. I want to get the word out that everybody knows what domestic violence is by now. As the sheriff mentioned, it's in the NFL, it's in sports, it's all over TV, and there will be topics about it. People will feel different about it. People always question, why does a victim stay? Only they know why they stay. And we're not here to criticize, we're here to help. From our experience, coming here today was very difficult for me. Coming through those doors always reminds me of what we had to go through after Angie was killed. That was hard enough as it was for us. But coming here and having to relive all of that was very, very hard. What it put the kids through and what they're going through today. Even though it's been 11 years, you never get over it. You learn to live, to go on and be the best that you can be, to spread the word, to help raise awareness, and to be there for those victims that are going through it today. As a mother, I know that just recently another mother lost her daughter in our community. That brought back a whole lot of bad memories. I feel for her son. I feel for the families of Selena Thomas. And I think about her every day. I think about the families every day of all the victims that are going through this. I always think about the mom the next day to know that your daughter's no longer there, what she must be feeling. It's a emptiness. And I know that when we were preparing for this trial, it was very hard. We had to relive a lot of stuff. We had to prepare for what was going to happen. But we got through it. And after it was all over, there's that quietness, that just quiet, that it gives you time to think about what really happened, and then the shock starts to wear off. And then you realize it wasn't just a bad nightmare. It's true. My baby girl is gone. Nothing will bring her back, but being able to share the story of what happened to her, I hope it really touches some victims out there and know that it's serious. It's very serious. The kids today are doing great. They're awesome kids. They're the ones that helped me get through this, because there were some days that I didn't know how I was going to do it without her. Angie and I were very, very close. And there was that emptiness, but thanks to my kids, my family, my friends, total strangers, people I didn't even know were there for us. Some victims don't even have that. So us as a community, we need to stick together. We need to do something about it. We need to be the voice. And that's what I want to do today. That is my mission in life, is to be able to help other victims out there. And I thank you for wanting to be part of it as well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. We appreciate your time and efforts and dedication to the community. Let's welcome our final speaker, Honorable Gerald Lee. Judge Lee is a magistrate judge. He is passionate about bringing healing to families and working in the community. Please welcome Honorable Gerald Lee.
Before I make my remarks, on behalf of the Canyon County Domestic Violence Task Force, we'd like to take this time to recognize an individual for their contribution in raising awareness concerning domestic violence in Canyon County and for putting the work, these important issues more prominently in our community radar. At this time, I'm going to ask Magistrate Judge Gary DeMeyer to please come forward. Magistrate Judge Gary DeMeyer has been a longtime voice and has worked to lay some important foundations to raise domestic violence awareness throughout our communities. Long before there were domestic violence courts, and even before I graduated from law school, Judge DeMeyer was speaking to many influential organizations in our cities to raise awareness, and often joined other professionals in bringing this education. Judge DeMeyer led the effort to develop the forms and best practices in the handling of criminal no-contact orders and civil protection orders in Canyon County. He also instructed fellow magistrate judges around the state concerning issues regarding domestic violence. His work and efforts were also instrumental in laying the groundwork for the formation of what is known as the Canyon County Domestic Violence Task Force. It is my privilege to present, in recognition, Honorable Gary D. DeMeyer. Thank you for your contribution to the Canyon County Domestic Violence Task Force. Would you join me in honoring Judge DeMeyer? Thank you. You want to say anything?
Yeah, I'll just say a couple of short things. One, I can't say anything better than everybody else has said up to this point in time, but I haven't heard Judge Lee's speech yet. But I appreciate this, and the only reason I was able to do it was because of all of you. And so I appreciate that, and all of you. Thank you.
Well, it is my honor to say a few words as we gather together today to recognize October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I am proud to be part of a community who is making strides at becoming more effective in our response to the scourge of domestic violence impacting our families. I just want to mention some of the individuals and organizations in our community making a difference. I apologize ahead of time if I forget you off this list, but I just want to give us an idea of the breadth of the individuals and the community involvement in joining forces here. The Canyon County Commissioners, city officials, the Family Justice Center, city and county prosecutors, the Man Up Crusade, Advocates Against Family Violence, Hope's Door, the probation departments, legal aid, local ministries, and the faith community providing food, shelter, finances, and legal help. Evaluators, treatment providers, counselors, schools, employers, neighbors, friends, and survivors. Collectively, we are making a powerful statement today. We have navigated through some dark times and most certainly face challenges presently and in the future. But the reminder of our history and the knowledge of the pitfalls that may be in our future help us to focus with the vigilance and resolve that is needed to effectively diffuse domestic violence in our community. I want to ask you a question.
Have you ever heard the words, "Why can't they just leave?" Let me ask a more pointed question. How many of us have voiced the words, "Why can't they just leave?" I know I have more than once. In fact, I can't remember when those words first entered my thoughts. It seems like that sentiment was always a part of my adult belief system. Then one day, those words passed through my lips again. Only this time they didn't come out as a statement. The words took a form of a question. I wonder why can't they just leave? It was at that moment I had epiphany, a heart change. You know, the light bulb just came on. It was amazing that how quickly my perspective changed, and the accompanying compassion and passion provided me ample opportunity to use my energies to lift up families in our community. So while it is true that no one of us can do alone what all of us can do together, it is also true that all of us together cannot do what each one of us must do alone. Domestic violence awareness practically requires each one of us to make a moral decision about our individual responsibilities to act. Today, as we recognize National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I invite you to join me in asking the question. Asking that question fresh and new, so that we together gathered here, right here in Canyon County, Idaho, might make a powerful statement together. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Lee. And thank you, Judge DeMeyer, for all of your contribution and the time that you have had with the task force. And thank you all for coming. We appreciate all of the work that you each do with the families and the work that you do in the communities to help end domestic violence. Thank you for coming today, and please join us as we kick off October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Canyon County.